the entire league. He just hard carries games. Like, it is so frustrating being a fan of this team because you never know what is going to happen. Or maybe that's exciting. You never necessarily know.
Something with Beryl, obviously two-time world champion.
Yep.
His ability to lock in.
It's second to none. Also, Escoffier has been out for about a week now, and so he's probably finished with the initial patch of the new round in Genshin. So it might be that everything is going to be a little bit more okay because he's back to the league, back to playing some video games with his teammates. Maybe that's going to be a part of it. Obviously speculation, and here we are into the pick and ban for game number 1 of this Saturday showdown.
Some heavy jungle bans already with the Vi and the Xin Zhao taken away from Lucid here. So the Poppy denied on the other side, and then Kalista taken away from Guma. And then Guma Carry, obviously not a duo you want to play against when they have a pick like Kalista or the Varus. Really try to hamper the early impact that bot lane duo can have.
Yep.
No top lane is really bad. We've seen a lot more of the trading of the top laners and a lot less of the banning of the top laners in our recent matches. So we'll see if that kind of stays. You know, Azir is still open and available. Talia's open and available. The Talia ban really indicates you kind of have to prioritize that Azir. Otherwise, Faker will snap it up. It looks like instead they're looking towards jungle. So this is an Azir 4T1 in return, 100%. And then I think T1 can just go Azir Pantheon in this situation. I think a lot of people have been happy with the Pantheon matchup into the Neferi. Oner undefeated on Pantheon so far. It seems pretty straightforward. That being said, you could leave the Pantheon till 3rd, and you could look to prioritize the top laner instead if you want to prioritize maybe like the Jace or the Gwen.
Yeah, I feel like, Pantheon Azir is almost definitely going to be coming out here. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. And so I guess D+ knew that was going to happen. They're very happy to go towards the Neferi Ahri lane. But I don't even know whether that's stronger. I just feel like Neferi first pick, I want to see the stats on just like games where you pick Neferi first. Because I feel like even before the nerfs, that was losing over and over again. This has not been a tried and true strategy. And maybe there's been something in scrims that's been going a little bit better, but it's certainly not something that's filling me with, I reckon Orcs is probably going to be happy about how the predictions are going to look at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think top lane going to come through here looking at the Rumble for Shiwu.
Yep, I like that one. I think as far as the carry top lane is concerned, this is Doran's best. So picking that one away from him makes a lot of sense.
And the question here is, do you go for something like the Aurora or the Galio, like these hard counters to the Rumble, or do you just take like a Jace, who is arguably the strongest top laner right now? We'll see what they opt to go for in this situation. I feel like if they do go for something like the Galio, they're definitely going to put a more focus towards the bot side of the map. They do have counter pick, potentially for Keria here, so...
Yeah, I think,
instead of opting for the Jhin, I guess in this situation, you know, I just listed off 3 picks that they could play into the Rumble. If you have that many options, you're not really too concerned about going into the next phase of bans. And after D+, they can maybe target with the top lane if there's something concerned about there. And Ezreal going to be taken away from aiming.
That does make a lot of sense. Aiming a self-proclaimed best Ezreal, so not going to let him have that one. They can just protect this bottom lane matchup as much as they would like. Aiming, of course, with plenty of options, though, so it might just be an Alistar ban to come through unless they want to be R4ing that one. Nico going to be taken away from Keria.
Yeah, trying to limit some of the range support options. Obviously, don't feel good playing into them when T1 does have that counter pick option available. Nico being very popular because she serves as that engaged support while also having that range to harass in lane. Yeah. And then Rakan coming out, so denying the potential to go for that Zyra-Rakan combination. And Alistar, we often see that on red side, that 4th pick Alistar come through, so not letting that happen. I think in this situation, though, T1 probably just secure the top laner for Doran and then leave kind of pick for Keria, give him as many options as possible.
And the Scion was something that I was kind of thinking they might go towards. Gwen, not necessarily as powerful on this patch and has always had a rough matchup into the Rumble. This is going to be a difficult lane for Doran. Yep. But still, Gwen is very, very powerful as she gets into skirmishes. And in the 1v1 later on in the game, will be very difficult for Shiu to be able to stand up to the Scissors Lady.
I think maybe D+ could just go something like the MF Rel here. Eamon's been really a big fan of the MF, but instead actually looking towards his Kai'Sa, which, you know, it's a pick that he's very comfortable on. But playing into like Jhin and counter pick support as a Kai'Sa, this is a little worrying.
Yeah, this looks difficult. There's not a massive amount of setup for it either, but instead it will be paired alongside the Leona to try and at least get something there.
I think one thing to be said is that because it's a Jhin, you don't really expect a Braum to come through, so they feel more confident to take the Leona in the situation. And you can see T1 are not interested in taking the Braum at all, looking at options for an engaged spot. So it looks like the counter pick's not really going to be utilized in a way that punishes so much this Kai'Sa Leona. Yes, the Jhin will have a pressure advantage in the early laning phase, but this is definitely a playable lane for D+. And I think overall, considering T1 started off with a fantastic Azir Pantheon, I think D+ kind of happy with how things have shaken out. They got a comfort pick for aiming. The comp is very cohesive with these dive threats coming through. The matchup top lane is good for them. So I think they navigate things pretty okay, all things considered.
Yeah, I would actually say that as far as how it shook out in the end, it is actually kind of working. I think the lack of CC is going to be a difficulty here. I think you're like, as far as the top side is concerned, it's like charm, and you can slow people down with a harpoon. But like, otherwise, there's not too much to fit in with all of the skirmishing. So Beryl's going to have to be all around the map.
100%. I think as soon as they can free Beryl up to move, really going to have a big advantage. The problem is you're playing into a Jhin who does have that early pressure advantage. So maybe like an early gank bot lane or some way to kind of free up some pressure and allow Beryl to move will make a big difference for them.
I think it's going to be a big one. T1 certainly coming out of the gate strong though, and we've said so many times, mid jungle is so extremely important. And that's exactly what T1 locked in immediately. Pantheon for Oner, he has been so incredibly good. We need not say it again. Faker, fresh off his second pentakill ever, is on his Azir, the most iconic champion in his repertoire. And there's a lot of iconic ones, but it's just probably the one up the very top. So that's a very scary thing. We'll see whether T1 can put their money where their mouth is as we dive onto the rift for our Saturday showdown, Game 1.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Okay, now that we're deafened by the T1 roar, let us dive into game number 1, and I have got a very important thing to talk about first.
Oh.
Is that Neferi skin a pickle dog? Because he's green. Or she's green. Lucid's green.
I need to inspect it a little bit closer.
It was a pickle dog, man. It was definitely a pickle dog. I don't even know whether that's a thing, but
concerning.
I'm saying that now, like, they've just, it's all been misplaced. You know, sometimes you put, do you put pickles in hot dogs? I don't think you do. Is that a normal thing?
We need Brendan here. You know, he's an expert in hot dogs.
Yeah, he's the New Yorker.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Chronicler would say that it's also a Netherlands thing.
Which it is.
I would imagine. But he's not here. He's not even here to defend
Dutch,
himself.
they probably call it like a hoot doog.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You speak Dutch. I know you live, you live just above Chronicler, so maybe it's rubbed off on you.
Whenever he speaks Dutch, I can generally understand the vibes of what he's saying, so yeah, I'd say yes.
Generally understand the vibes. There it is. So there's the pickle dog. What do you reckon? You reckon it's a pickle dog?
It does look like a pickle dog.
That's 100% pickle dog for me. As Oner is, speaking of the pickle dog, going to come on over and have a look. As Lucid's going to find him, dives on in on top. And in fact, Oner getting the worst end of this trade. The bleed ticking down as well. As Lucid will push him away. The flash forward? I don't know about that one, but he should be able to follow with that front flip. And Oner is going to read it and flashes over the wall. So flash for flash here between the two junglers. And Lucid saying, get off my lawn.
Yeah, the big thing being at a level 2 Neferi, a lot more power in the kit compared to a level 2 Pantheon. Oner's going to get forced off even harder. This is great for Lucid.
Yep. And Oner does walk his way out, does manage to secure that, I'm pretty sure. As even some caster minions getting involved. Absolutely crazy. But Lucid will be able to turn this into a red steal. And this was Oner going for the invade, so he'd already invested the extra time to get over there. And is not going to be able to find too much for it. As speaking of not finding things, no Harpoon joy there for Xiu on this top side. And Lucid will be able to finish this one off. So Lucid coming out of the gates real strong here on this Neferi.
Yeah, going to move down to try and cover his red side. I think he's concerned that maybe if Oner led the charge, if you look at the bot lane priority that T1 has, which we expected, I think he'd be a little concerned his camps could get challenged by Oner fresh from a reset, so we'll move through to secure those. Yep. It's a pretty big advantage gain. That ward that was in the river, spotting Oner, making a big difference, and Lucid having an initial jump on the play, and really you know, Pantheon is such a level 3 champion, having all 3 abilities in your kit, whereas for the Neferi, level 2, having your flip and your Q more than enough for you to fight with.
Yep. Lucid not too worried about the untargetability when all you want to do is hit your opposition. And so that's working out very, very well. Bouncing on over, taking down some of these Krogs, and we'll head over towards this red buff, just maximizing the amount of red buff time. I do like that one a lot.
So in a situation like this, I mean, we see Oner moving over to secure both scuttles, so it's not like he's having too bad of a time, all things considered.
Yep.
But you have to be really concerned as a laner for the side of D+, because when a jungler doesn't have camps to take, when a jungler doesn't have much to do with his time, he'll gank.
Yep.
So you have to be a little bit concerned about that. Azir and Jhin, 2-win streak for T1, but a big loss streak for everyone else.
Yep, no one else seems to be able to make this work, but T1 with Gumayusi and Faker are pretty good at making Azir and Jhin work. I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to figure out why that is the case. As Beryl and Aiming trying to fight back here against Keria and Gumayusi, and we're getting a demonstration as to why this Jhin has been working out. As he's just having a pretty good time down here in this bottom lane, even though Aiming is keeping up. And I think if the Kai'Sa's keeping up in this lane, you're probably not too upset about it. We know that Aiming is known to pop off later on in the game on these Kai'Sa picks if he gets his hands on it.
Yeah, definitely a pick where you're just trying to invest in Aiming later in the game. Seen so often as him being the Gold King.
Yep.
I'd say kind of look in the jungle with how things have panned out. The Prio from T1 really working hard to secure the Skull Crabs means Oner isn't really behind, but I think you really have to examine it from the lens of if that invade had been successful and he had the Prio in his lanes, Lucy would be out the game. Oh man.
Doran has just been obliterated by Xiu here. Gets the scrap shield, flash forward, and lands the harpoon. There's a solo kill, and that is first blood. Man, I'm so used to it being Gwen doing that, but it's Xiu this time.
Rumble matchup is a bit of a risky one, you know. You want to be up close to your target as Gwen, and you can just get cooked by the Rumble. Shibu planning a bit of big advantage there. Oh, nice dodge on the stun there from Lucid.
Yeah. Going to be landing a few of these daggers as well as Lucid, thinking that his prize is going to be this blue buff, and that is due to the fact that Showmaker has all of that priority in this mid lane, but bot side priority is also there for T1. So a little bit of an honest engage here as Keria dives forward. They get on top of Lucid. He's lit on fire. Faker free hitting now with these Sand Soldiers, but it's Keria that's the one in trouble. And with that Spirit Rush, Showmaker is able to take him down. Beryl now looking for Faker as Lucid in amongst it. Gumayusi the target, but Oner goes down first. And that's another kill, this time going over to Aiming. It's a disaster for T1. That's even feats of warfare already completed for DK.
Some great value there from the Ahri coming through. We're going to get a replay of that topside play first. She was close to overheating. Doran goes in to try and clear the wave, and just gets beaten down. See Shiwu calling it already. Follows with the flash, gets the harpoon. Just beautifully played. Pings the flash as well.
And that must sound pretty good as a teammate, right? You've got your top laner that says, oh, my opponent has no flash. And then you kill Fate just as, and now he's dead.
And here, so I think a big thing was they focused initially on a Lucid, but Lucid is such a hard target to pin down. Faker's not going to go for the shuffle as a result. He's just trying to get some damage in, but Showmaker using that triple ult value to take out Keria, so much power from the level 6 Ahri. And then as soon as Aiming turns up, you know you aren't winning this fight 4v3. They have to dip out of there. Guma has to burn his flash, and a great early start for D+.
Yeah, this is looking much better. A revitalized D+. Perhaps, you know, you could say that they weren't quite as focused on the KT matchup, and maybe they were doing a lot of preparation for T1.
Yes, exactly. That's
definitely what it was.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice work, Ox. You knew, even though so many others didn't. That being said, they're not out of the woods just yet, and DK have had plenty of good starts, and they are extremely capable of throwing it all away, and for it to mean nothing.
I think that's the thing, is that T1, you know, as much as they've had a lot of early leads recently, there have been times where they've fallen behind and just clutched it when it comes to those team fights. I say recently, they do that so often over the past few years.
There's a reason why they're back-to-back world champions.
Yeah, I think there is. So even though it's a good lead now, it's a good start to the game, definitely positive, especially for picks like Neferi, like Ahri, who very much feel like momentum picks, still need to keep focused in this game.
Yeah, I think you need to keep your foot on the pedal 100%. That will give T1 some opportunities to answer back, right? Because DK needs to take risks, they need to do things. And Lucid going to start by taking down these grubs as they spawn. It's going to be the first feed of the objectives to come on through here for DK. They can upgrade their shoes relatively quickly, but they need to get another one of these if they do want to lock that one down. And Doran fighting against Xiu. Grand Starfall does come down. Let's see whether the Rumble will survive, and the answer is absolutely he will not. As Lucid just wanting to get that final grub, and he does manage to secure it. So T1 not able to deny defeat. They will be able to deny triple grubs from DK. So T1 on the board now with that kill onto Xiu, certainly good news.
Yeah, great moves there from Oner. You know, you saw Xiu finding an angle to get a solo kill, which isn't that common that we see those, but just an instant response here with the lack of flash. Xiu was trying to get the wave pushed in. Immediately the angles found. Doran and Oner working together beautifully here.
Yeah.
And that looked so easy to pick up, and then does secure them that one grub. Obviously, as you said, the feat contribution does go towards D+, but I think T1 happy to get a little bit gold back in their favor.
Yeah, and I think getting the Gwen out of the hole is going to be an important one as Beryl comes over and says hi to Faker. Hey man, how you doing? And Faker says, I wanted to go home. Please stop annoying me.
Oh, and also puts the passive on the minions, so it just kills them with the beautiful... Oh, Keria?
All right, Keria could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Something they chase.
Yep, still going to be able to get out. As once again, Beryl with another Zenith Blade. Charm going to connect there as well, as Faker could be in a little bit of trouble. Orb of Deception comes down. I don't think Faker's dying here. And remember, he really wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And so it's really not going to do all that much. He will miss out on this wave, though, because the timing's not necessarily the greatest. Good Charm from Showmaker, just barely unable to connect.
Or some good trades. And again, Faker's going to recall, but he doesn't have TP. And with him off the map, and Showmaker having not committed ult in that play, D+ very confident to pick up this dragon.
Yep.
Second objective of the game.
Deadly Flourish. A bit of an attempt there from Gumayusi. And I was going to say, oh, that's optimistic, but it's Gumayusi. This guy steals things all the time. And so you could actually be a little bit worried. Of course, Piercing Arrow does do a lot more damage than Deadly Flourish. So there's that. But still, I get a little bit worried whenever he's throwing a skill shot towards a objective pit. As Lucid...
It's 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly. And Guma hits a large percentage of the shots that he does take. And so you combine that, and it's a little bit of a worrisome situation here for D+, potentially. Beryl just wanting to go in. This guy is like keeping Zenith Blade on cooldown as Keria now without the Aftershock. Does take a fair bit of damage there from aiming, but otherwise I think it's just Beryl taking damage more than anything else. Faker's roaming down. This could be a little bit of a dangerous one here, as DK wanted to go up to meet him. Keria comes over. And then a Fury in the river as well, so Keria not going to be able to clear this ward, and in fact, he needs to just get himself out of there. Crash down going to be important in order to make that one happen, as has T1 been able to get any of their blue buffs yet?
Well, they did get that one earlier. I believe it was Oner who smite secured.
Oh, he did?
But
okay.
They lost the fight as a result.
Oh, so he hasn't had blue buff for very long.
Yeah, oh, Guma.
Okay, Solar Flare is going to miss the stun, but he's still dead. Lucid comes on over, grabs the kill. Beryl able to tank up the turret just well enough. And Oner will be able to get a blue buff, I think, because the opponent's one is coming up relatively soon. Equalizer goes down towards that top side of Xiu. Not exactly having the greatest of times. Bit of a swapsies of position is very cute there between Showmaker and Faker, but Showmaker does use the ultimate just to avoid a potential shuffle.
I think it's just interesting to see how both D+'s solo laners very much get the memo. This is our weak side of the map right now. You need to just respect the pressure. Xiu ults the wave so you can back away.
Yep.
Showmaker instantly respects the threat of Faker going in and doesn't hesitate to use his ult to play safe, so they know they got an advantage bot lane. We don't need to do anything in the solo lanes. Just make sure we don't die. Pretty respectful play from D+.
I was going to say, like, intelligent, respectful, map-aware play from my D+ this week. What the heck? Another Zenith Blade. This time it goes wide there, as Beryl is unable to find it onto Faker, who does have the ultimate, so it was never really in too much danger there. But we know Beryl just likes pressing the button. Only going to be taking his Gromp here towards the bottom side. Still a bit of a muted performance by him so far. It has, of course, contributed to the only kill T1 has put on the map just yet. Doran getting some plates here towards his bottom side. Still about a minute and 10 seconds left on those plates. So able to get that extra money, certainly going to be good. Lucid just flipped over the wall, so doesn't have that ability at this point in time. Avoids the deadly flourish, though, as he flashes over the wall. Oner goes in, but Beryl is right there already. The curtains are going to get called, as now Lucid still trying to escape. I don't know whether Beryl is going to be quite as lucky, though, as he realizes he has to stick around, and that will spell his death. So a little bit of an overextension, and this is something that they were talking about on the space. The fact that DK sometimes just try to take more than they have the right to take.
Yeah, Beryl dies for the sins of Lucid. Flash down on the Neferi, and you know when it's a Neferi who's a character who's so slippery, so hard to pin down, and you still have to sacrifice someone to get away, that's when you know you were really overextended.
Yeah, that's definitely a bridge too far. As T1 now with so much vision here towards the top side of the map as well. Rift Herald going to be up in 1:15, and that could really help slingshot T1 into a better position in this game. So we're going to check it out one more time, and yeah, it was just Lucid a little bit too far forward. Has to use everything and the kitchen sink in order to escape. The curtain call, so difficult to get out of the way from.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe Beryl could have found an angle to flash, but I think he would have just died anyway, so saves the summoner.
Yep.
A lot of that recently from Beryl, just like, okay, I'm going to go down, no point using the summoner, and I think sometimes we have players who are like willing to throw down and try everything to live, and I think can often be a bit of a mistake, so still have that summoner available
I think Beryl sees deaths as a positive. That means I'm doing things.
Yeah, you know, he has been a little bit known to do that.
Yep. And also, there was a Herald fight coming up in a minute's time, and so having the flash available so you can get on top of, Faker or even Doran or Oner or anyone like that with a flash and the Shield of Daybreak, that could be a pretty good.
It's 100% the right call to save it and have that ready and available. But all flashes available across the board for everyone, so, I mean, the fact we have the Dragon and the Herald, big time to set up some potential fights. You know, there is still a gold lead for D+, but we look at where the gold lead is in terms of items. Everyone has their one-item spike. The only person who doesn't really is Beryl, as Keria rushed that locket instead of finishing his boots, so maybe a bit of an advantage there, but you know, even when you have like an extra pickaxe for aiming, it's not really going to make that much of a difference compared to completed items, so I think both teams on roughly even footing going into this one.
I would say so. And aiming as well, going for a more physical build this time around, does make a little bit of sense. Means that I'd like to sort of change my assessment of the composition a little bit more, because I just don't like AD Kai'Sa that much. Especially in a composition like this where he's up against a lot of champions you do not want to be in melee range of.
I will say though, when you're playing with double AP solo laners, I think it does make sense.
Oh, you have to do it, right? But it just means that the Kai'Sa value isn't going to be as high because you don't have the poke value from it. Things like this as you move later into the game.
I think it's one of those things where the item spikes come in a bit later. You know, we're talking more like 3 items, whereas normally Kai'Sa's really strong on 2. But at that point, like late in the game, she's really going to shred.
And anything with percentage health damage is just going to do a lot. You have a lot of attack speed and can just burn through targets. Not necessarily some true tanks, but that won't matter as aiming still going to go in, even though it is relatively early. And the Void Seeker also going to be able to help out there, winning out in the trade. Bit of a cannon off here in this mid lane, but it's aiming that just secures his. Keria moves over, finds Beryl, but they're just breaking each other's stuff, so it's going to be fine. And things have slowed down here a little bit. As I say that, they speed back up again. Beryl getting engaged on here, good crash down as he's just looking to try and escape, and maybe this is why the flash was left off cooldown, as Lucid really wanted to secure his Raptors. He does do so. And T1, they just get a flash out of Leona. And we'll move over now towards this dragon. A lot of vision available here. Showmaker on that top side of the map with teleport in hand. Doran going back home now. And Lucid well aware of what's going on here, but I just don't know whether DK is going to have a way in. As I say that, Lucid just blast cones his way into the pit, and Oner is going to be able to stun him. The front flip gets him over, but that means that the dragon definitely goes into the hands of T1. Equalizer goes down, not really doing too much. So an evening out of the Drakes. Another Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had one yesterday, and we have another one here today. Brilliant. You love to see it.
It's like both teams doing a lot of poking and prodding, trying to find little advantages and translate them into more. And that chunk onto Beryl and the flash being burnt was pretty big. Allowed T1 to get the dragon, but then D+ kind of force them away so they can at least get the Heralds as a consolation prize. And the mid tower, thanks to the pressure Showmaker had earlier on, is low enough where Herald with a bit of damage would be able to take it down.
Yeah, it's a big one. Now Faker actually able to put on a lot of pressure here towards his bottom side, but Showmaker is going to answer that. Spidey sense is tingling there as Faker is going to be able to back away.
This gives a pressure towards the top side. You can see little concern that someone might turn up, so they do back away. But I think one of the things with a play like that from Showmaker is when you're moving towards Faker in the bot lane, you know they're going to have vision in the river because they just took the dragon there. So, you know, maybe a little bit ambitious for that, but he will find his place in the bot lane and just hold that wave.
Yep. Kind of interesting. Our Gold King is Gold Kinging. I just feel like aiming hasn't really done all that much this game, but he is like almost 20 CS up, has that extra kill, of course, from the previous skirmish, but he's 750 gold in the lead. So they've been funneling good old aiming, as they have done in the past. Let's see whether it's actually going to work out for them. I think this Kaiser is going to be really important later and later into the game.
I mean, especially since this was a game where we had a pretty late first dragon. Both teams have a dragon apiece. I could see it going to a later stage of the game, right? The goal is pretty even as well, so
I think every one of these Mountain Drakes is going to be so important as well. I mean, T1 has a Jhin. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to cut through if there's a triple stack of mountains on DK. So we could have a lot more action in this game, and I like that.
And I think it's just going to have time for aiming to get stronger and stronger. The 2-item spike coming in soon is big, but 3 is really where he's going to take off. And now looking to herald the mid tower. This won't kill it, but they should be able to finish it off with some mortars. Yeah.
Beautifully done. Faker is going to try and return the favor, heading down towards this bottom side. No feats of strength, of course, but first turret blood going over to DK going to be an important one there.
I have to TP out.
Yeah, Faker will set up a turret of his own, and will look to take down this wave. And I think maybe he's just dead. He's lost the ability to do the old...
nice.
Okay, gets over the wall. That's very cute. Malignant's on the floor, and they just have to back away.
It was slick from Lucid to dodge on the divide, but Faker is slicker. Manages to outplay that one.
And I think DK were just really scared that the cavalry was coming in. They've ganked Faker too many times to know that if you don't insta-kill him, it could really be a bad time. And she was on top of a ward here as well, so T1 know exactly what they're up against. Aiming, pushing out this mid-wave once more. And Solarflare going to connect onto Oner. Zenith Blade to try and chain this CC, but the Magnus Storm is good from Keria. Untargetable is Lucid, but he has to use everything to try and get out, and it does not work. Oh dear. Sometimes Zenith Blade in, and it is just not the right call, as now the Otacon going to get taken, and T1 really getting out to a fantastic lead off the back of just Faker's phenomenal moves in the bottom lane and an overextension again from DK.
It's a very weird play for D+ to go for in that situation. You know, Showmaker's TP wasn't quite available, Faker's was, and very unforced. You know, I think this was a great outplay by Faker, and that's completely fine. But it's the play afterwards that I'm really wondering about, because this was so unforced. They know T1 were around the top side. They know they have vision. Maybe we're hoping the recalls had already come through. Yeah. But it just looks so silly from our perspective. And again, Showmaker just recalled, doesn't have TP yet. Faker does. There was no way they were winning that fight. It just feels very unforced. And now T1 able to pick up the Atacam buff and found themselves a 1,000 gold lead.
That's a big one. And so now T1, it's not even... So they have a slight gold lead, but it feels even more than that now, with Atacam layered on top of it. Showmaker going to be eating some honey fruit.
I mean,
and a setup for this dragon is going to be the next fight. I think DK not out of this game by any means. They have to make some better decisions. Maybe just channel what they were doing earlier in the game, where they were making a lot of reserve choices and just, you know, suffocating T1 as best they could. That was working. Let's go back to that, perhaps.
They're finding angles to get some tower damage here. Oh, she was struggling now.
Yep, Doran in a much better spot as he flashes in and returns the favor. The turret will do a fair bit of damage there, as in fact, yeah, Doran does indeed die. But now we've got another fight breaking out. Beryl, once again, just gonna be dead. Solar Flare looking a little celebratory as it hits absolutely nothing. And T1, they get the better end of it, even though it was a 1-for-1 as far as the top laners were concerned. Losing Beryl going to be a big deal, because that should spell this dragon going on over to T1 without DK being able to do anything about it.
Starting to feel pretty rough for D+, considering how good this game started as well. Starting to fall behind and potentially losing a game like this feels so bad with how good it started. And here, Doran finds an angle on a Shiwu, doesn't have the cooldowns available to fight, and ultimately Doran just destroys the Rumble so quickly. That flash to follow as well. Really well played.
Yep. and then walks up, and so therefore dies to the turret. You can go right.
I did not
just
see that.
Just letting him know. But that's fine. Beryl could also have just not died in that circumstance.
I didn't.
Well, hindsight is 20/20. Or
that play, that solo kill was pretty hype, and then I didn't see that he.
All right, Beryl's in again. Lucid is there watching again, and Beryl's dead again.
This is just a never change game, I feel like, for Doran and Beryl.
Yeah.
Where Beryl is just playing like a psycho, racking up the most deaths in the game, and Doran, so like he finds this play.
That is like the epitome of an unforced error. You know?
Yes.
That did not have to happen. I think he expected that minion was actually going to take a turret shot or two, but unfortunately does not happen. Grand Starfall goes down as Xiu is just going to get swept back, and we'll do a fair bit of damage here to Oner on the outset, as now Gumayusi also in a little bit of trouble. Good cleanse from aiming, but it's not going to be enough. Keria just being a defender, as Lucid realizing that perhaps he's also overextended, and barrels out of the gate once again. Okay, it's time to die once more. As these health bars, these health bars are so incredibly low. If Beryl can actually get in there, Solar Flare is back up again, and he throws it down. Not going to find anything, but he's holding them in position. The Eclipse wears off. Beryl is certainly killable, but so are T1 as Doran's teleported in, and oh my goodness, this Gwen is so scary. 15 seconds until Xiu's back up again. And it's a 4v5. In goes Keria, but doesn't really find the angle, and now Showmaker with all that mobility, looking to see what he can get done. Untargetability good there from Lucid, but Gumayusi, he lands the bullets. Faker goes golden, and DK melts like butter in the microwave. T1 just destroy them.
Beautiful team fight from T1, baiting out D push. You know, Keria going in, not committing abilities, just trying to force out the aggression from D plus and Faker at the end with that Seeker's Arm Guard getting so much value. T1 just playing with the food there.
Yep, T1, like, that recoup was just so incredibly impressive. You get around Doran, who has that full health bar, and DK, they could smell blood in the water. But it just wasn't T1's. It was, in fact, theirs. As this starts it all off, and
I think Shiva might be a little bit sick of seeing the Pantheon ult come down.
Yeah.
And then here, this one's pretty cool, because Keria looks to try and threaten Showmaker, forces the ult, doesn't actually connect. I think he was going for the flip, actually. I thought he was just baiting him out, but doesn't find it. But then the Jhin ult gets so much value here, and Faker, the Seeker's Arm Guard at the end. So much value.
Yeah, hits every single bullet. And T1 lose absolutely no one for it. And so DK well and truly on the back foot now. They augment this Infernal Drake with the first of the mountains. And everything coming up T1 here in this game number 1. And it looks like the woes of DK have not ended just yet. It felt like things were going to be all right.
No.
And it's since not necessarily been the case.
I feel like a game like this almost feels worse because...
Because you're on blue side.
Well, not just that, but it started so well.
Yeah.
It started in a really good position, you know. If this is the sort of game where if you go to game 2 and you fall behind, you're instantly going to be thinking the series is doomed. The fact that you had this advantage in this one, you were playing it well, and then just a couple of fumbles, and remember, now you're like 5,000 gold down.
Xiu's like really had a bit of a rough mid to late game, right? But he started it off with a solo kill.
Yeah.
Like everything, like you say, was doing well. We had Lucid chasing Oner out of his jungle, winning out in that early game situation, and it has meant absolutely nothing. As we can see here, the siege is continuing. The Baron getting to work here. As Equalizer goes down, flash in from Beryl, gets the cleanse out from Gumayusi as Keria going down lower and lower. The Magnastorm not going to save him there. There's some untargetability from Lucid, will not save him here either, as it's a 1-for-1 in the end. And now Doran is rotating over. The needlework is so scary as once again he's under the turret. Once again he's dead under the turret, as aiming not going to be able to stick around though. So with the health bar advantages, Oner? Okay.
That's a little deep.
Okay, that's a choice. You can't go through that base gate, but that's okay. He's able to wait things out, and the rest of T1 will join. So
that's just aura, you know?
That was a lot of aura, and I think Showmaker could feel it. As the inhibitor going to be the next to fall here, as T1, they're pretty good at this, closing out these games.
Ult, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's ticking down. They see the orb fly across their heads. Let's see what she can actually get done here. Bullet comes on through. Everyone's slowed down apart from Faker, but I don't think she is going to be able to find too much more there. Voidseeker going to connect, but there is no killer instinct. So no more teleports, no more silly stuff.
Could that be enough to get them Dragon, though? You know, very late recalls coming out from T1. Maybe a window to sneak in, but it looks like Lucy taking the red here, a little bit concerned. Oh, they find Keria.
Yeah, Keria just crashes down over the wall.
He is rather tanky.
He is indeed.
I think they've missed the window. I'm not sure if there was a window. It was a very small window, but they've definitely missed it.
Yeah. They didn't go through the window. They did manage to secure their red buff, so there is at least that. And T1 going to come on over and look for Soul Point. DK, I mean, they could theoretically fight for it, but I just don't even think that's going to be a worthwhile opportunity. 3 items like you were talking about, a thing to watch out for on aiming, but I feel like it's too little and it's probably too late.
Yeah, the problem is, you know, there's 3 items across the board for T1.
I'm going to connect there onto Doran, and then Showmaker has to try and find a way out as, the deadly flourish! That was beautiful! From Gumayusi, he has to now walk off the red carpet as Beryl looking for Doran. The Magnet Storm's gorgeous! Keria sacrifices himself for it though, and now they're looking for even more. Over the wall they go. Doran is so low, Guma's so low, but it doesn't matter because they get a clean ace, only losing Keria for it. And T1 will now look to finish the game.
D+ going for an attempt there, you know, they managed to find a kill onto the support, but nothing more. They don't have to follow through with Showmaker dead, and with this much of a deficit, it was a tall order anyway. T1 managing to hold strong after, you know, some troubles, a little bit of troubles in the early game. A very convincing finish out for this game.
Absolutely beautifully done by T1, and it was just the fact that